Happening right now, community members in Killingly are speaking out against Amazon's plans to build a large warehouse right in town. Pinpoint News Tracker shows us where it would be located, right off of 395. So we're going to zoom you into that location here. People just had a chance to share their thoughts at the town council meeting, and your reporter Taylor Knight live in Killingly for us this morning. Taylor, what are people concerned about here?
Well, at last night's town council meeting, people raised concerns about several things, including truck traffic and water quality. Some also think that voters should get a direct say in this warehouse through a ballot question in November. Resident after resident got up to speak at the town council meeting last night about a proposed Amazon warehouse. The company wants to buy more than 500 acres, tearing down dense forest and spending $200 million for a 1 million square foot facility. Concerns include truck traffic, water quality, and property values. Several residents spoke in favor of a moratorium, saying the town needs more time to review zoning rules before any more large-scale industrial projects can move forward. Others asked the council to support a non-binding ballot question, arguing it would give planning and zoning a clearer picture of where residents stand.
I support the moratorium on warehouse and distribution centers. Killingly's time to step back, review the impacts, and make sure our zoning protects the town before more large-scale projects move forward. A pause is not anti-business, it's responsible planning.
And the Planning and Zoning Commission is expected to discuss this warehouse during their next meeting on Monday. Your reporter live in Killingly, Taylor Knight, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.